back to the Tracy Tag. I am your co-host Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we are going to be recapping all the events of Week 17 and also talking about the Damar Hamlin situation, which we hope him and his we hope he gets better, and our thoughts and prayers are definitely with his family. But before we get into that, if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button so you can see when we go live. Ryan and we're going to be doing a lot more content in 2023, and we are looking to keep growing our community and talking football, especially as we get into the playoffs in the offseason. But first, though, as I mentioned, everything happened with Damar Hamlin. It's funny. As now we're live, I really have much more appreciation for Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Adam Schefter, Booger McFarland, Scott Van Pelt, Ryan Clark, because it's one of those weird things. It's you don't even know how to describe it, but it is an event that has never happened before like this, especially on how big the NFL is now. There was someone that passed away 50 years ago on the field, but it's obviously still sad. But this is absolutely something that is never happened before in the NFL. What was kind of your reaction to when everything happened? Were you watching the game when it happened?
I was. I didn't know what to think of it. At first, I thought it was a head injury, and then Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, who I usually don't appreciate as announcers. I don't usually like them. I think they handled it very well. But you could tell something was extremely wrong by how long it took for them on the field, as well as the players' reaction. There were a lot of commercials during that time because obviously they don't want to show what was going on. But you could tell it was really bad. There was a scene when they cut to the ambulance driving off the field. They went to Josh Allen, and he's just in his palms crying.
Yeah.
And it was extremely scary. I did not care about that football game at all. After that,
it is. I think it's amazing to me how immediate the entire football world. That was the biggest game of the year. So much playoff implication on the line, and it's amazing that the entire football world was like, no, it's not the most important thing in the world anymore. Within an instant, it's like everyone now is focusing on Hamlin. Everyone now wants him to get better, pushing for him. I've been looking at Twitter all day and nothing but thoughts and prayers. And it's amazing how this whole community has just gotten around this guy and his family.
One thing that is mind-blowing for me is did you see what number his charity is at?
Yeah.
So Damar Hamlin has a charity. It's Chasing M's, and it's a toy foundation for kids, underprivileged kids to get Christmas presents. Yeah. And it hit over $5 million today.
And it's only going to keep going up and up.
Yeah.
It's only going to keep going up and up.
And that's just, I think the NFL community rallying together in a dark time that we hope has a happy ending. So
well, and as I said, kind of going into this, there's been nothing that has happened like this. I mean, I've seen some videos of it happening to soccer players. There was a Daniel Erickson, I believe his name. He had to get CPR on the field, but then 18 months later he was playing, but it was such an emotional scene. Then I actually, though, was like that soccer game specifically kept on playing, but I think it's in the soccer world. I've seen videos of that happening to people, whether they unfortunately pass away or if they are alive and they come back to life, and then they go and get medical attention. So I think that there was kind of a precedent set on what the protocols are and the potential expectation. Well, with the NFL world, this was something that's very shocking because you see all the players. I don't think we've ever really seen CPR done on the football field before, at least, especially not in a professional setting. And it's obviously sad when anyone goes down, especially because we've seen people who get paralyzed or people who have devastating leg injuries or body injuries. But normally they're alert and awake. It's still it's like there's a sense of okay, they're going to be okay. in life.
Yeah.
But the CPR is, I think, what really shook everyone.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to compare it to was the Ryan Shazier tackle, and I think that's really the closest thing we've had to that. But even then, Ryan Shazier was responsive and in moving at least his arms through all of that, and that to me is the closest thing that we've gotten to this, and that game was played on, and so I think that just speaks to how severe of a situation this was on the field. This is a guy that we've referenced multiple times on the channel, but Brian Suterer quickly came out with the video about what he thinks it was, and he said it was commotio cordis, which is a strong hit to the chest that causes the heart to go out of rhythm or stop, and it can be fatal. So I just hope that Damar Hamlin is okay. Thoughts and prayers with him and his family. The last thing that I do want to say about it is there was somebody on ESPN who said that T. Higgins is at fault. And that is just so incorrect. T. Higgins was just doing his job. Football is a physical game. This is a freak accident in a very scary situation. I think it is horrible to put that on T. Higgins for just trying to get some extra yards as he's trained. Like, he's been doing that his whole life.
Well, and that to me is what's so crazy about the situation is it was the most routine football play. It wasn't like there are on YouTube, there are like devastating like hospital pass compilations or like blindside receiver compilations, and those guys get concussions, and obviously there are long-term effects, yes, but that play right there we've seen, I mean, billions of times. Think about how many tackles there have been since 2000, and we've seen that tackle so many times. That tackle happens dozens of times per game, and it just the sheer randomness of it, I guess, it is with all the information that we have, at least right now, at our disposal.
And to be frank, it could be something else. There are a lot of theories going around that may be true or may not be true. He could also have a condition that might have just happened there. Right now, commotio cordis seems like the most realistic option, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see as more information comes out of what actually was the cause of this.
Not the cause right now doesn't matter as much as just making sure that he gets through, his family gets through. And it was interesting too. They kept talking about how they were waiting. I was wondering why it took 30 minutes for the ambulance to leave. And a lot of it was because they were waiting on his mother to come down and ride in the ambulance with him. And for me, as a newfound parent, that was definitely shocking. And it was shocking to a lot of players. And I know we're about to get into kind of now, but we'll get into here, like the effects on what this has on the NFL moving forward from here. But it definitely puts into perspective how lucky we are that we can watch football year round, essentially, like that. I was wearing a Georgia shirt here. Very fortunate enough, I was able to go to the college football semifinal game. Next day, I was able to go to the Falcons game. Great time.
Both of which were great games.
And then this happens on Monday night, and it really then kind of put into perspective how I'm able to watch these guys play a game and then go home and spend time with my wife and my daughter. And now we're all able to do that. That's how we all want to be able to do that at the end of the day. And it can be taken away very quickly. It's a very serious thing. And so we wish him nothing but the best. That just kind of really, those are my just initial thoughts on the whole situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll say it one more time, but I hope he's okay and can be healthy again. At this point, playing football again, I'm not concerned about for him as long as he's just alive and well. So
I will say, and this is one thing I was thinking about, and I was listening to Pat McAfee today about it as well, and he had some good points. But I'm curious how this changes the NFL, both one playing wise, but my actually initial thought was um, how players sign for their teams, because now it's like they put their bodies on the line every week. A lot of guys do it for a decade at a time. They love this game, but as we said, family is the most important thing in this entire thing. A lot of these players now are holding out on contracts for guaranteed money. Not that money is the most important thing, but I think a lot of players in the whole football community, this shook them. I wonder how this is going to affect kind of that aspect of the NFL world. You know, how players and team owners, hey, if you want me to play football for you, this is a dangerous game. I want to make sure that my family is taken care of. In the worst case scenario. Maybe that's not the right thing for me to think about, but that was just one of the first things that I thought, because all the players, even former players, this shook a lot of players and a lot of people.
Yeah. And that there was one person, I forget who it was, retired NFL player, but he came on and he was saying he's like, you're prepared to go to war. And he's like, a lot of these guys say that like they're prepared to die. He's like, but he's like, when you see something like this, he's like, it's hard to like say those things when you actually know that it is like a possibility. And so it's a scary thing. And I think player health and safety has been a hot topic for a long time now in the NFL. And I think this is just one more thing on the list. So I think it'll be interesting going forward, but I do kind of want to move on and talk about some of the other things that occurred in week 17 and just kind of see if we can get a clearer playoff picture going forward for the AFC and NFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's start out on the NFC, because right now AFC is still a little murky based off of Monday's events. There were a lot of answered questions. So is Philadelphia locked in at the 1 seed?
No, they're not. They lost to the Saints.
Oh, okay.
And Dallas ended up being Tennessee, and so that's
right.
not a lock. What's interesting though with the Eagles is going up against the Giants, who they're locked in at the 6th seed. They can't go any higher or any lower. So what are they going to do? Are they going to try and rest players? I don't see why they would want to play Saquon Barkley against these teams. And then on the flip side, it's kind of one of those very weird scenarios where the higher seed, like the Eagles, have a lot to play for. And Jalen Hurts is going to be coming back. He's had an extra week of rest. I don't see why the Eagles wouldn't be able to beat the Giants in week 18. We're going to be doing our prediction tomorrow, because also then hopefully more information comes out about what the scheduling is going to be like with the game being postponed. I think it probably will be voided. But the Bills Bengals game. Yeah, I think that they will just void the game. And so, but that's AFC stuff. We can get to that here.
In a minute.
Yeah. But I still think the Eagles will still. I'll just say now, I had the Eagles winning that game. And so the real thing actually, it comes down to it's going to be the Sunday Night Football game. The Packers shockingly somehow actually have control of their own destiny going up against the Lions. Lions need to win and have the Seahawks lose against the Rams. That's all for the final spot in the NFC. So that to me, that's the only story really. So if the Seahawks beat the Rams, then all the Lions will be doing it. The Packers can control their own destiny, and they're playing Sunday Night Football.
That's crazy, actually. Because I mean, there are, especially weeks like 10, 11, 12. I mean, we were talking about Packers are done. Like they
couldn't score. They just couldn't score.
They were able to score a lot against Minnesota. So. And
they still went. They went down to Miami on Christmas Day, put up 26. I think they got very lucky that the Dolphins just imploded. I think they had
the whole 2 concussion thing.
Yeah, they had 5 turnovers that
Yeah.
So, but you know what though? But then they still put up 41 against the Vikings. Shut that offense down to 17. That's a confidence boost. Detroit's going to be coming into Green Bay for Sunday Night Football in January. That's never fun at all. Actually, I'm curious, how many games have they lost in January in there? I know they lost last year.
Probably not a lot.
The Falcons, I think, were the first one when Michael Vick was there. That was the first time that they lost in Lambeau in January. Actually, I think in the playoffs. I think it was the first time they ever lost at Lambeau in the playoffs.
I have no idea.
That's all in January. So, anyways, though, but with the NFC, I don't know. Of those three teams, who do you think deserves to be in the playoffs the most? Seahawks, Lions.
Of those three teams,
yeah,
I think the Packers do the most. David Bakhtiari's back, so that offensive line is solidifying a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The offense overall looks a lot better. And I think defensively, Green Bay is probably the best of the three. Especially now that they've switched up scheme-wise. They're getting after the passer a little bit better, allowing Jair Alexander to be the shutdown corner that he is, even though he seems a little – he probably has a few screws loose. But I think Green Bay is probably the best team. I'm also a little bit biased. I usually tend to lean towards teams that have the best quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers is the best of the three quarterbacks.
Yeah. I would probably have to lean because they also have Devondre Campbell back, unless if he got hurt on Sunday. I did not see that, but
I don't think he did. But
yeah, because I'm pretty sure he played in the Miami game. I'm also fairly confident, and they also played in the Minnesota game. But he's a good linebacker, and it definitely helps that defense to have him back in the system.
Yeah.
Jair Alexander was talking some trash about Justin Jefferson before the game, and he backed that up. So the defense seems like it is clicking. They also then at the same time they were able to hold Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill in check overall. It seemed like when they played Miami, so they are on a roll going up against this Lions offense, which is another good offense that they're going to need to shut down, which they did shut them down when they last played a couple weeks ago. The Lions only beat them 15-9. For me, I know the Seahawks beat the Lions earlier in the year, but I would have to go with Packers, Lions, Seahawks personally. I think the Seahawks, it's not that big of a gap, but I just think with some of the still inconsistencies, pieces on both sides of the ball for the Seahawks, I think is what brings them down a little bit for me. At least with this Lions offense, they are clicking on all cylinders, and so they can absolutely, I think, compete with anyone. Unfortunately, to Seattle earlier in the year, so now this they really need Seattle to lose again to the Rams, for this game to really mean anything, but not for this game to mean anything for them. So but it's going to be crazy. But other than that, like all the other positional seeds are set outside of Philadelphia and Dallas.
Well, Minnesota could go up to 2 if they win and San Francisco loses.
San Francisco playing Arizona. No.
Yeah, I was saying that loosely. It's a possibility, but I don't think it's going to happen. Especially, I think they'll both probably win those games. Not to give away my picks for tomorrow, because I think the Vikings play the Bears. Yeah. So
no, they should win the Bears. And I was at that Falcons game, and the Falcons were able to run all over Arizona.
You picked a couple good games to go to this weekend.
I cannot complain about the 2 football games that I went to. And so luckily Mom got tickets through work to go to the Georgia-Ohio State game. Our mom is a Buckeye fan, and luckily her boss is a Georgia alumni. So I had to make sure that Mom was okay in the Georgia section. I'm wearing a Georgia shirt now, actually. So, but just what a game! What an absolute crazy game. I mean, it's funny. We, as a debate internally, like the Tracy's, we'll be like, you spend so much money when you could just enjoy it from the comfort of your own home. That game was absolutely worth. If we would have paid any money for it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Worth.
Oh yeah.
Any money that we would have paid. What a back and forth great.
I still think
game.
Ohio State got screwed a little bit, but that's neither here nor there.
So on that, are you talking about like on the targeting call?
So that was definitely targeting, and I will argue to my grave that Brock Bowers play was not a first down.
Oh,
it all depends on how you interpret the rule.
So I will say I did not see a highlight that happened. I mean, I was up in the nosebleeds and it was on the other side of the field. But from where we were at, it looked obvious that he crossed the line, like he crossed the first down line.
So there's two parts to the rule. One part of the rule says if a player touches out of bounds and is touching the ball, he is out. And then there's other language that is like the ball is not out until the player touches out of bounds, or the ball itself goes out of bounds. And then there's other parts that also say, like if a ball crosses the out of bounds line or is over the out of bounds line, it is also out, right? So there's a lot of language there. It depends on how you interpret it. If you don't call him out until he touches the ground, then yes, it's a first down. But if he goes out of bounds, like if you say that once when the ball crosses the out of bounds line, the ball is out at that spot, it goes out of bounds.
Okay.
Like you cannot, even if the player is still in bounds and his momentum is going out of bounds, you cannot extend the ball for a first down.
So like if the player's in bounds, but the ball is over that imaginary line that goes vertical, and that ball is just hanging out there.
Yeah, it's not where the player is; it's where the ball is, right? Because Brock Bowers' momentum.
Someone's running with it, like
wait, what?
Well, so let's say then in theory someone's running with it like how Michael Vick or Kyler Murray also runs with it, where they're just holding their hands. He's running up the sideline, but he's holding the ball, like the ball is crossing over that imaginary line, but the body is in bounds.
Yeah.
Is the play dead or is the player still alive?
No, because the ball can be brought back in bounds. It's when okay. So if a player is tackled out of bounds, right? It's where the ball goes out of bounds, not where the ball is when the player hits out of bounds.
Yeah.
Because theoretically, if I'm at the opposite 1 yard line, this is literally impossible. But I could run and jump to the other side of the field and touch 15 yards out of bounds, but be 30 yards down the field.
Yeah.
And gain that. That's not like.
Yeah. Well, so I can see what you're saying. So probably the best example is just like the touchdown pylon.
Yeah.
Instance. I think there was one. It was literally, I think it was the Washington Apple Cup game. Is quarterback's running towards the end zone, and he actually runs over it. Ball's on the left side of his body, and then he runs over the pylon, like over it, but the ball's on the left side of his pylon and out of bounds to the left, like on the half-yard line.
Yeah.
So he didn't. The ball never crossed the end zone or the pylon.
Yeah. It's the same thing. So like if
it's the same.
If that play was at the pylon, he's out at the half-yard line because he never extended the ball in bounds between pylons. Right?
Yeah.
So like
and that's
the ball never would have crossed the plane of the end zone. It would have outside the pylon.
Yeah.
So we got way off topic, but
it's fun to still talk. I mean, that's just one of the best games. That's one of the best games I've ever seen. I was an absolute pleasure to be there live. But yeah, I remember that one, and then the targeting one. The targeting one, that's the highlight that I did see, and I can honestly see a little bit on how that wasn't targeting, because it was shoulder. Targeting is all about for the head, and if you look at it, it does look like it is more shoulder to shoulder/body. And then Marvin Harrison, and it was just an absolute lick of a hit. And that's just my understanding of the rule. I also know that there is the defenseless player aspect of it as well, but we have seen, even in today's targeting eras, defenseless players getting hit in the ribs, hard in the chest, and then it's with their shoulder. It's not with like the crown of their helmet. You know what I mean? So that's another one where I guess the language for me can lean me towards it being not targeting call, but I can also see the language having it be a targeting call.
I based on the replays, I thought at the very least it was a dirty shot and should have been a penalty. The defender makes no effort for the football. He is purely just trying to hit Marvin Harrison Jr. as hard as possible.
Oh, so it was funny, and like I was as neutral as could be. I mean, Mom's wearing an Ohio State shirt. I've got a bunch of Georgia alumni around me.
Yeah.
And when I saw the CJ Stroud throw the ball up in the air, and like I see Marvin Harrison getting under it, and then I see the safety just running like as hard as he can. I'm like, that's going to be you just knew instantly what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And as soon as it hit him, I'm like, that's a targeting. They threw a flag they called targeting, and it's like, from my angle, that is the most clear-cut targeting angle. But it was in live real motion. I was 300 yards away, or however far away. Section 313 is from that end zone. But then after seeing the replay, though, I could get an argument that said that wasn't targeting call because it wasn't straight helmet to helmet, and it's the biggest play of the game at that point because not only one did it stop a touch.
Oh, you there? Oh, we lost Tyler. You there? Yeah. You said not only did it stop a touchdown.
So not only did it stop a touchdown, but it also took Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the game, which is arguably he was arguably the best player on the field, next to Brock Bowers and CJ Stroud. Not Brock Bowers. Sorry. I mean, I'm a big fan of Brock Bowers. But who was it? I said
Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
But he had zero impact on that game.
I know, actually. Yeah, I say that. I don't remember CJ Stroud really ever getting sacked that often.
No, and when he did, it was by with the edge rusher. For Georgia.
I will say this though, since we're already kind of going down this route. Really looking forward to all the offseason stuff. Seeing CJ Stroud play live, he convinced me that he's quarterback one. He did everything because like all of his doubts that we've had on him, like look, we know he had the talent that was there, and absolute props to his offensive line for giving him time.
Yeah.
But man, he played unbelievable. This is still this Georgia defense. It's not as good as last year's Georgia defense, yes, but there are going to be multiple first-round picks from this defense this year, and he absolutely tore them apart. And what he did with his legs is what we've been wanting to see from him.
Exactly.
He like that is it. If I'm the Texans and I see that game, it's like he can do this. He can be the guy. And nothing against Bryce Young.
He did the perfect dual threat quarterback thing. No design run plays. He tore teams apart from the pocket.
Yeah.
But if you played way off coverage like Georgia did on their final drive, he will torch you with his legs.
Yeah.
Not because that's the only thing he has, but because that's what is available. And to me, I remember I was talking with Abby, my girlfriend and her family, and I was like, I'm just not sold on CJ Stroud. Like for me, he just doesn't have like the mental, like get after it. Like he doesn't have that competitive drive to win. He has all the physical tools you could want. He's a great passer. He's extremely accurate, the perfect arm. And it's like, but like in that Michigan game, they were giving him opportunities and he just like wasn't taking them. And in this game against a better defense, he showed up and played his ass off. It was very impressive. He's the best quarterback in this class, by a ton, in my opinion now. And as we get to more of the draft stuff, once when the season comes to a close, I am very strongly in favor of him being drafted number 1, especially over Bryce Young.
I mean, nothing against Bryce Young. I'm sorry about all that coughing thing.
No, you're good.
But yeah, like as of now, I mean, Bryce Young is really good. Bryce Young might have more poise, but it might be like, and size is tough to talk about because I mean, CJ Stroud has the typical NFL QB build. Both, I think, have solid mechanics. Both, I would put the poise and what's the a composure aspect overall from what we've seen over the long term more in Bryce Young's category. But with that game, though, seeing how CJ Stroud moved in the pocket, there was the first touchdown play where he was directing Marvin Harrison, like no, go to the right.
Yeah.
And then how he was able to work and then get that and then get the touchdown. I that to me, I mean, that's what you're looking for. And also, if you're the Texans, more than likely you have 2 first-round picks next year. More than likely, one of them is going to be within the top 10, top 5. Marvin Harrison's going to be the best. He's going to be receiver 1 next year. I mean, he would have been receiver 1 in this class if we're being completely honest.
Yeah. In this class, I don't think is horrible.
It's not.
I'm a bigger fan of Quentin Johnston now that I've watched him play live than I originally was.
Yeah.
Still not super sold. To me, he's a potential pick because you don't know how he's going to fare in a all NFL systems require you to run high level routes, and I just don't know that he quite has that. He's very raw right now. So
yeah, he definitely is I was impressed as well, especially then. Like, I mean, he had a good game against Michigan. I think Michigan left him open too many times and had some defensive breakdowns.
Yeah.
But that being said, though, yeah, like he still showed up and had multiple touchdowns, lots of yards after catch. And so but anyways, just going back to Stroud and Bryce Young, definitely looking forward to kind of seeing how this offseason plays out with them, because that game, I know it was just one game, but it was very impactful to see, especially in person. See just his poise and what he was willing to do to let his team win. So
no, I agree. My opinion completely changed on CJ Stroud. Let's get back to NFL playoff picture. Kind of talked about NFC already. Let's get into the AFC. The picture's still a little bit murkier, considering the events of Monday night.
What do you think they should do? I mean, I already said a little bit earlier on my opinion. I'll explain more later. What do you think they should do with the?
That's hard because I really feel like this is a game that was going to provide a lot of answers as far as the AFC playoff picture. I don't necessarily think that it's fair to just delete it, and just be like, well, these teams only have to play 16 games. So they're not going to play it this week, and the Bills and Patriots still have to play on Sunday.
Yeah, it's interesting it would be very easy. Let's say if both of those teams didn't also have to have another playoff impactful game next week. Yeah. Like let's say both the two teams that were playing were out of the NFL. Yeah. They could honestly then just switch it around and then just push this game back, have those two teams then get their 17th game or whatever, like try and mix it up. But the one thing, though, with what you're saying is I don't know if there's enough time to get everything, and then also for it to then be fair to the Bills and Bengals players as well. I mean, so have them try and get 2 games in before the playoffs next week would be very difficult. Maybe they can move some stuff around to where then maybe they can push their playoff games to Monday. But
so my only thing with that is they only played 9.5 minutes. of the game this Sunday. So like, let's say they move. I would hate if they did this, but like they could move the Patriots Bills game and the Bengals Browns.
No, Bengals Ravens. So
Bengals,
like
Ravens.
that game is
Jesus.
that game. That's what I'm saying. That game's for the division.
Mm-hmm. So like they could move those games up to maybe Saturday, and then play like a Tuesday or Wednesday night rematch between the two. But then the only thing, so then you'd have to move the other games to like
the playoff games.
Yeah, you'd have to move the other games to like the next Tuesday.
Yeah, and so for me, I think when this game, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just trying to think about it logistically. Both teams are already in the playoffs. Bills have already clinched the division. There's right now it has the Bills as the 2 seed, and the Bengals as the 3 seed. And if the Bills wanted to play, then there is some more playoff implications. Let's say they beat the Bengals, and they become the 1 seed, and then they would get a bye. But that's a lot that's going into it. I think if you void the game, both teams still make the playoffs. They'll both still be just playing whoever they play. Yeah. And this is where I think this should be the easiest route. And then
does it count as a tie on their record, or do they just play 16 games?
I think that they would just play 16 games, and then just go based off winning percentage. And then here's the caveat: so they would both play whoever they would play in the playoffs, because as we said, everything was stopped for Damar Hamlin.
Yeah,
and I can completely understand why those players did not want to finish playing that game that night, nor revisiting it. I don't know how they have time. I don't know how you go in the right mindset trying to prepare for New England or New England this week or Baltimore for the Bengals. But I guess at the end of the day, you still have a job to do, I guess. But if this goes down, and let's say they get the 2 seed, the Bills, the Bengals get a 3 seed, then they both meet in that next round. I would then propose, then for an effort of fairness, then a neutral site game somewhere up in the Northeast, so somewhere like Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, if there's a stadium that's open. I think any of the NFL facilities would be willing to do that, but also then that'd be in the effort of fairness. So then one team then wouldn't get an advantage for not playing that game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's probably a horrible idea, but just considering the circumstances, then also for the fairness of both teams that they do meet in the playoffs, that it would be at a neutral site. In Pittsburgh, maybe.
To me, this, like, if this was between Buffalo and Houston,
it wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter. My thing is well,
let me rephrase that. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of life. It doesn't matter. But if we're talking about just the logistics of the NFL and of the NFL season, it is makes it very tricky to try to figure out what is the best solution here for the football season.
Yeah. And but I also don't think it's fair. Like, the score was 7-3. I don't think you can just void it and just be like, well, we have to go with the score that's up there, and like then the Bengals get the win.
Oh no team would get a win. It would just be
No. But that's what I mean. I don't think you can void it and then have those two teams only play 16 full games, and then have everybody else play 17. That's not fair to the other 5 teams that make the playoffs. It would pretty much eliminate. It would lock Kansas City in at the 1 seed.
Well, if Kansas City beats the Raiders, it would have to be off the win percentage. But yeah.
So, which wouldn't happen if Buffalo would have won.
If Buffalo wins out, yeah. But we're just now when it comes to solving this, it's just time. It's the only thing is just time. The only thing I could think of is there is a week off in between the Super Bowl and between the conference championships and the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So if the NFL would want to then, in the fairness for the Bills and the Bengals, play this week and then push everything back a week, and then there'd just be a one-time exception that it would go conference championships, no week break, then go straight into the Super Bowl. Just as that's another option as well if they really want to get that game in. But that being said, though, there is also still a lot of logistics, a lot of playoff tickets. The playoff tickets, I take that back. That can obviously easily be changed. You just
and that's also not so.
Yeah.
The NFL would lose too much money if they did it that way, because then they would postpone Wild Card Weekend and only have one game.
Well, it'd be the finish off the regular season. And that's where I think that's an interesting phrase, because if you're the NFL, this is where you're kind of in a lose, because it's not that your points are wrong. It's not fair to the other teams.
I am partially playing devil's advocate.
No. I understand that. In the focus of the football season and the playoffs, trying to win a championship, it's not fair to the other football teams. But that being said, it is the Bills have been going through a lot. So mentally and emotionally, like what will the overall status of the mental state of the team would be? I don't even know how you would react or come from that just to go back and play football. It's that team is from what I've heard, that locker room is a tight knit group, and so I think that they'll be able to come through for the better on the other side of things. But this, I mean, everyone. It's like, I think it's rightfully deserved at times, the crap that Roger Goodell gets, but at the same time, it's like, don't envy the decision. Don't want to make this decision at all. It's it was just a crazy event that happened last night, and there was obviously a lot of people upset about how long it took to delay the game. But I think to give the benefit of the doubt a little bit to Goodell and the NFL a lot happened within an hour, and then a lot of emotions, a lot of checking on people to make sure everyone's okay. And so it's a lot to process and to try and figure out and what is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Actually, this might be a little bit crazy, but what if? Well, no. I was going to say, what if the NFL suspended all AFC games this week, except for Bills-Bengals? It played NFC, and then, like you said, pushed everything back a week, but then the AFC would just play Week 17 next week.
No, see, I think it'd be easier just to if they were, the easiest thing for them to do is if they were trying to, well, they've already stated that they're not going to
replay the game this week. Yeah.
I just don't see how you can get this game in with the rest of the season. I mean, this is the last week of the season, and then you have wild card playoffs next week. Yeah. So what I said I thought was extreme. That's even more extreme.
Yeah, but that's
mine at least had less logistical pieces to put together with Buffalo and Cincinnati. Not saying that it's no ideas in my opinion are crazy ideas, but sorry, I'm just actually, as we're talking about, just looking up to see if there's any new updates. But as now, no. I just don't see how they get this game in, because they're not playing the game this week. Buffalo and Cincinnati can't play. Like, it's hard for guys just to play on Thursday night. You know what I mean? If they play Sunday and then go play Thursday. And if they play Thursday, then would they then have to go turn right around and go play Monday night the next week of their first round playoff game? We're talking about in the effort of fairness. That seems super unfair to the Bills and the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea.
So I think the easiest thing, and what my first suggestion is, you void the game. Bills have already won the division, and so now this is just going to be seeding for them on when they play New England. Bengals, I guess if they won the game, no, I would need to double check because aren't the Ravens 11-5? Or are they 10? Are they 10 and
They're
6?
10-6. So that's another thing with voiding the game. You hand the division to the Bengals. I think that they were going to win it anyways. They're the better team than Baltimore right now.
Oh, the division. Oh, I thought you meant the Buffalo Bills game.
No.
Yeah, no, they were going to win the division. They were going to win the division anyways.
Yeah,
I think because then that would put them at. Ooh, that's an interesting point too. Because I thought that it was just going to be a 1-game difference.
No, if they had beaten the Bills,
it'd be 2 games because they'd be 12
games, and then they would be.
But now they're a game and a half up on.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I didn't even think about that. So it's even more. It impacts the Ravens as well.
Yeah.
Well, but so one thing though, so if the Bengals or Ravens play and the Bengals win, then it wouldn't have mattered either way whether the Bengals lost to the Bills or not. They still lock up the division with a win against the Ravens. So that's still a win. That's still a big game for the Bengals for them to win. I don't know, man. Like I don't know how you come up with this decision. And also too, it's not even like that Bills Patriots game is huge. I mean, there's three teams looking to vie for that 7th seed spot.
Yeah.
So
who would have thought the Steelers would be in this?
I know. And they're playing the Browns. I mean, that's a good chance of a win for them.
Yeah. No, I mean, and then the Dolphins are playing the Jets.
Yeah, Skylar Thompson looks like he might be
starting.
And so it's so hard and not trying to be inconsiderate of figuring out this whole situation, but while we're waiting on the good news to come for Hamlin, these are things that you just kind of have to think about because the season is going to continue at some point,
Yeah.
So handle it, and I'm not entirely sure how you do it.
Yeah. I mean, so another thing that did happen somewhat recently was the death of Kobe Bryant. Do you think the NFL would suspend operations while Hamlin is still in the hospital?
No, I mean for Kobe Bryant, how long did they stop things? I thought it was just for
like a week. It was like a week.
It was a week?
Yeah, it was about a week.
I mean, they might. The thing with those, if the NFL schedule and the NBA schedule are 2 totally different types. I mean, NBA you can have three games a week traveling, and there's a lot more operationally going on with NFL. Like teams leave Saturday morning and then they fly home Sunday night after the game. So that happened Monday. A lot of things probably are on pause. I mean, it's possible that they can maybe push games back to Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm talking all the games. So the more teams can recover, wait for more information to come out, allow for the Bills and Bengals to have more preparation. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, if they push the games back to Monday or just those 2 games back to Monday. And so, because also by then we'll have a lot more information on Hamlin, hopefully, and also the playoff scenario as well. So that's what I'm saying. And if I'm being honest about it, it's like it's never a good time for this to happen.
No,
but it in this game in particular, and I can't emphasize more how important it is that Hamlin gets better. But in the grand scheme of the football season, for this to happen during this game makes a lot of things very complicated.
Yeah,
and it's how do you handle it from here?
Yeah, and that is a decision that I am glad I don't have to make.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad it's just us and probably no one's watching our show right now, and
We
we're
got
just discussing
a
it.
couple viewers.
Oh, we have a couple viewers. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on what on what possibly could be done once we find out that Hamlin is okay and the football season starts to come back to normal. Because to me, I think the most important game outside of this is the Bengals Ravens game, because that's going to decide the division. So the Bengals beat the Ravens anyways. It doesn't really matter too much because they'll still get a home game. They'll still get and they'll still get a home game. I don't think that they can become the 1 seed. They would need the Chiefs to lose, and then the Bengals would have had to beat the Bills, and then do with this, and for a lot of them just become the 1 seed to get that home field advantage.
Yeah.
So the Bengals beat the Ravens. They still get the division. They're still the 3 seed. Bills lose to the Patriots, then that would put the Bengals up to the 2 seed, I believe. Anyways, I guess it would depend on tiebreakers. So for me,
they would be the exact same all the way across the board.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So right now the Bills are 3-2 in the division. The Bengals are 2-3. If the Bengals win on Sunday, they would be 3-3. If the Bills lose, they would be 3-3. Conference record: Bills are 8-2. Bengals are 7-3.
So then that would be the same.
That would be the same. Their win percentage would be the exact same. Yeah. So.
Well, don't the Bills, aren't they a game up on the Bengals? I think they're a game up on the Bengals.
Yeah, but in that scenario, for the Bengals to move up, the Bills would have to lose, and the Bengals would have to win.
So that's where, to me, I mean, and I think they should play this game, or at least postpone this game for sure. And then as more information comes in, then both teams can decide, because at the end of the day, if both teams clinch the division, one's a 2 seed, one's a 3 seed, and shoot, the Bills maybe once they know that their brother is okay, like, no, we want to play this game because they might get home field advantage if they beat the Bengals. And shoot, if the Chiefs lose to the Raiders and the Bengals will also win out, they might be able to get home field advantage, because then they would have beaten both the Chiefs and the Bengals, Chiefs and the Bills. So I think we need to have a lot more information that comes out, and it's such an unprecedented thing to try and decide. But if they decide not to finish the game, and then they just go with, hey, you be 2 seed, we'll be 3 seed, we just play who we play, like, we're going to have to beat each other anyways to make it to the Super Bowl, then I would suggest, in the effort of fairness, then I said this earlier, that it would be held at a neutral site game close by to the city. I don't think anybody would say no to that. Like, no NFL facility would say no to that. I think that both sides travel real well, so I think it would be a very fun atmosphere.
Yeah,
I can confidently say, coming from I guess it was held in Atlanta with Georgia, but having both teams there at a neutral site game, I think would be very entertaining, be very loud, and so. But that's just the first thing that's coming to my mind. It's probably not the best idea, but I'm not smart enough to think of the best idea.
I mean, so the thing is, no, because it wouldn't matter. So I was going to say, if the Chiefs win on Sunday, it doesn't matter because they would be 14-3. But if the Bills win,
the Bills have the head-to-head against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and so then they would be the 1 seed. I still come back to the point of, like, this game either has to be played or decided at some point. Just because it's like, on multiple things. One, if the Bills and Bengals go into the playoffs having only played 16 games, that is a huge advantage mileage-wise on their players. Because I know they're not preparing or doing anything, but this is a week without play for them. So I know it's not acting like a bye week, but this is a week they haven't played a full football game.
Mhm.
And so that's not fair to the other 5 teams that are going to have to play 17 games to get in. Also, ranking wise, where these top 3 teams fall, you're basically handing home field advantage to Kansas City, which I think is also unfair that you're not going to give Buffalo and Cincinnati the opportunity to play for it. Hope you there. I think we lost Tyler. Oh, yeah, we lost Tyler. You there?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, where'd you cut out at?
The home field advantage for the Chiefs.
Okay, so I think it's unfair that the Bills and Bengals, if you just void the game, that to the other 5 teams that they're going to have to play 17 games and the Bills and Bengals are only going to have to play 16. I also think it's unfair to basically hand Kansas City home field advantage and not allow Buffalo and Cincinnati to play for the opportunity to have home field advantage.
True, but and so then I guess this is where, because one of the things too, and I think one thing we haven't really considered yet is Goodell is going to be asking specifically to McDermott and Taylor and both organizations whether they want to get the game in or not. If both teams don't want to get the game in and they just want to just heal and then go back and they just pick things back up and this game never happened, then I also think at the same time that they would accept those results as well, if that makes sense. To be that we are not like we understand, like if we go this route, this is what it means, and we're fine with that. Like just because of how unprecedented this is, and who knows, maybe we wouldn't be surprised maybe to forfeit that to the Bills or something like that, because since they did have the head-to-head, maybe I don't know, so like we would just have to see what happens. It's crazy to think too that it's actually like 24 hours ago, like all this was going down, and trying to figure out and wrap our heads around, like, is this guy okay? What does this mean for the football season, for the playoffs, and everything? And as more information comes out, and I think as it seems like there's signs of optimism, that Damar gets better, maybe some of that changes. You know what I mean? Maybe the Bills and the Bengals do want to get that game in, and then we'll squeeze it in. We'll move things around. Whatever. So, like that's where it is. We kind of have to wait and see.
I will say, if they're going to void the game, I think they have to anoint a winner and give somebody a win and somebody a loss.
Why is that?
Because the win percentages aren't going to be the same.
So the only thing with that though is I don't know how you would even go about doing that. And also at the same time, then that still wouldn't be fair, I think, to either the teams involved and also then the other teams not involved. So, like, for example, let's say,
or deem it a tie. If you deem it a tie, then
I will say at this point in the season, though, like a tie, then like the Bengals will take a tie because that means that they win the division then, and that's not fair to the Ravens. You know what I mean? Like I don't disagree, like, at all. I might disagree a little bit actually, but it's like I understand what you're coming from, but I just think that might not be the best route to go.
Yeah, but so based off of this conversation and just trying to think through this, it sounds like you're going to step on toes no matter which way you go, right? Because it's, again, if you just void the game and the Bengals and Bills only play 16 games, everybody else plays 17, that's not fair to everybody else. But if you give somebody, or sorry, you also give Kansas City home field advantage, which isn't fair to the other two teams because they don't have the opportunity to play for it. If you deem it a tie, that's not fair to Baltimore because you basically give Cincinnati the division.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like little things. I also think it's still, especially for the Bills, I think it is still an option that they might not play this weekend. Like, because from what I've heard, like they are not back in Buffalo yet. Like
I think they're still in Cincinnati.
They're still in Cincinnati. I mean, I can't even imagine them trying to put together a game plan right now. So,
yeah,
like I don't know. There's a lot I think going into this week that I think is going to be interesting. The NFL is also still a business, so I don't know if like moving everything back a week and allowing the Bengals and Bills to get this game in. I don't know.
Well, yeah, like it's just I know I'm getting sleep. Sorry, I caused that. I don't know. At this point, I think we're just kind of going in circles. There's not really a wrong option, but there's not really a right option, it seems. And so,
so I don't know.
Yeah. Did anyone suggest any potential alternatives that I guess what we didn't mention?
They left.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
but,
I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. I think the NFL probably needs to provide an answer by before really Sunday, when games start on Sunday. So,
oh yeah, they should, but hopefully we'll have more information.
Yeah. Are there Saturday games? No, there
are.
Oh yeah, there are.
Yeah, Chiefs, Raiders, Titans, Jacksonville. I actually think the Chiefs Raiders game might be good.
It could be.
Jacksonville
Raiders aren't really playing for anything though.
Well, no, but you got a bunch of guys playing for a job next year.
I mean, that's fair.
So
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Oh, there's no Thursday night game.
No. Let's just pick all the games tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see what the NFL does, and then we can talk a little bit more about it if we hear anything by tomorrow. But I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the Tracy Take. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and we will talk to you.